Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a very blue armor, and when I say blue, I mean very blue. And I chose Paladin for a reason for this particular armor, because it really shows off the blue nature of the armor quite well. And it really quite looks nice on a lot of characters, just simply because it is a light plate, which is the same as a mage plate, and an archon plate as far as graphics is concerned, and it has the really nice blue color to it, which is pretty cool. Now, this particular armor can be found in the ethereal form, of course, and it does have more defense, which I'll have to calculate. But it also has some other nice effects. So let's go over this particular piece of armor together, and we'll talk about the Heavenly Garb together. So the Heavenly Garb has a very nice defense of 216 at level 29, and unfortunately at level 29 it really has to compete against some really strong adversaries. Like for instance, at level 29 you can also put on the Skin of the Viper Magi, which I don't have here right this particular moment. But the Skin of the Viper Magi is a very nice caster piece of armor with +1 skills, all resistances, and some very nice effects. I feel like Heavenly Garb kind of got power creeped back when it was probably one of the best items that you could put on at a low level. And then when they introduced the Nightmare and the Hell version uniques later on, Heavenly Garb kind of got just pushed under the water, so to speak. But it's still a relatively nice piece of armor, and we'll take a look at it. So 41 strength requirement is really low, with a level requirement of 29. I feel like the level requirement on this needs to be brought down a little bit. 50% enhanced damage to undead, which will function as extra damage, kind of like a might aura. We have 100 to attack rating against undead, which is very nice. We've got 100% enhanced defense, which is static. 15 to energy, which is going to give us a nice little boost to our mana pool. As you can see, I'm running 615 right now, and when I put on the armor, I go to 637. And this is going to vary depending on the character that you're putting it on. So, for instance, it's not always going to be that particular amount of mana, because some characters get more and some characters get less. So we've got regenerate mana 25%, which is very nice, especially if you pair it up with a pair of Mage Fist gauntlets. Mage Fist gauntlets, which I thought I had a pair sitting in here, but I guess not. Oh, look at me, just not having anything ready. You would have 50% if you paired it with Mage Fists, and regenerate mana is actually extremely powerful for any character that is casting spells on a regular basis. And if you have more mana, so the more mana you have, it actually the faster you regenerate. So around level 29, when you would put on a Heavenly Garb plate with, for instance, some Mage Fists and maybe some Mantled Heals or something like that, you could really stack on the mana regeneration to a rather high degree. Mantled Heals, I believe, have 20% as well, so that's 20, 20, so 40, and then you'd have 50, 65, and then 70, 80, 90. So you'd have 90% regenerate mana, and then if you build up your mana pool a little bit, you would get even more regeneration from the size of your mana. If you guys are unaware of how that works, the larger your mana pool is, the more mana regeneration works. We also have plus 10 to all resistances, which is not bad at all. 10 all res is certainly nice to have. And of course you could put a socket in this if you wanted to, and you could throw something else in here as well. Now, the real problem with Heavenly Garb is not that it is a bad plate of armor. It is really just that it's not competitive versus a lot of the other plates of armor that you will find around the same level. For instance, the Spirit Shroud, the Skin of the Viper Magi, the Spirit Forged Link Plate, Duriel Shell, Shaft Stop, Scalder's Ire, Hagen's Wisdom, Guardian Angel Templar Coat. All these particular armors are also around the same level and tend to be, kind of better choices. But this one would have a very specific use in a character who is trying to get their mana regeneration as high as possible, because it does have plus to energy and plus to mana regeneration, and you could also, theoretically, if you wanted to, you could socket it and you could throw maybe like a a tier rune or a perfect skull in there to increase the mana regeneration even further. I'm not sure exactly what build would require such massive amounts of mana regeneration, but having massive amounts of regeneration is certainly nice. Maybe an energy shield sorceress comes to mind. And the ethereal version of this, unfortunately, just tends to not really be that great. The real reason why the ethereal version doesn't work very well is because it is very focused around mana. And if you were to put this on a mercenary, for instance, they're not going to get any benefit from the plus to energy. They're not going to get any benefit from the regenerate mana. And the defense on this particular plate at level 29 is okay, but it's not like super duper amazing. Now, we can upgrade this particular piece of armor, but I feel like it's already sort of waning off toward the, hey, it's not so great side of things. But we can at least do one upgrade on this with relative ease, which is going to be, if I remember correctly, a shale, a towel, and a perfect diamond. And let's go ahead and grab 2 sets. And we go from a level requirement of 29 with a strength requirement of 41 and 216 defense to 466 with only a small upgrade in the level requirement to 34 and only a 55 strength requirement. So not really a bad 1-tier upgrade. If this was the only armor you had, or if you were really focused on using that regenerate to mana, that's actually not a bad upgrade for 1 tier. The ethereal version goes up to 782 defense, which is relatively nice, and has a strength requirement of 45 with a level requirement of 34. Now, eventually the ethereal version will break, and that is unfortunate. Now, we can upgrade this 1 more tier if you really want to, and that would require Limb and Co runes. Now, that is a much more difficult recipe, which is going to probably not be something you're going to do. But because this is a video where we're specifically exploring the items themselves, we're definitely going to do this upgrade. So let me go grab a couple more diamonds because I seem to be low on my diamond stash. You have no idea how many diamonds and emeralds I go through on a regular basis, just upgrading items left and right. I've got towels and soul. I got whole characters literally dedicated to upgrading items for these videos. So I hope you guys and gals appreciate it. And let's go back here. We're going to upgrade this this armor 1 more time. Now the Archon plate is going to be a much higher level requirement. And I want you to keep that in mind when we think about this, and it's probably why, just in general, it's not going to be a good upgrade. But let's go ahead and do it anyway. So Lem and a Co and a perfect diamond will get us 466 defense, 55 strength, 34 level requirement, to a 1016 defense, 103 strength, level 75 requirement. So relatively high there on the level requirement at 75, but the defense actually did turn out not half bad. And the ethereal version, of course, is going to do even better with a defense of 1,542, strength requirement of 93, and a level requirement of 75. The main problem with upgrading this to the 3rd tier is that it really just doesn't offer a lot of the other bonuses that other armors do. There's no plus to skills. The all resistances is relatively low at all resistance 10. It doesn't really function very well as a mercenary armor, as an ethereal, because it just doesn't really offer the mercenary much. With the exception of the defense and the small amount of bonus to undead, it doesn't really offer anything for a mercenary. And I just can't see a level 75 character rocking Heavenly Garb in an Archon plate unless you just really wanted to look really cool in your blue armor. It does have a very pretty blue color, and I must admit that. Like I said, I feel like Heavenly Garb just kind of got power creeped a little bit by other characters. And unfortunately, the regenerate mana doesn't really work very well for melee classes, just simply because melee classes tend to have extremely low mana pools in the first place. And because of the way that regenerate mana works, the higher your mana pool, the better. Low, very small mana pools get next to no benefit from this. It does give you 15 energy, which would, of course, increase your mana pool at least a little bit. And the damage to undead is specific to melee and ranged characters. So it almost, for some reason, seems to be focused on melee and ranged characters when you look at the damage to undead and the attack rating to undead. But then, you know, the low strength requirement, the low level requirement, and all the focus around the mana makes me think it was meant for a caster class, and I really can't quite wrap my head around exactly what purpose they have this for. I mean, if you were to combine it with a mace class weapon, you would get a 50% bonus to undead, and then the weapon would also have 50% bonus to undead. I mean, we literally just went over the Rust Handle War Scepter, which has a 110% bonus to undead. So maybe if you were to combine the Rust Handle War Scepter, or sorry, the Rust Handle Battle Grand Scepter, with the Heavenly Garb, you would have 160% enhanced damage to undead at a relatively low level. It could be an interesting tactic, but just not sure. This is definitely an armor that when I find it, I know it's useful and I hang on to it. But at the same time, if I have something better laying around, I will use that instead. And it just it's fine armor. Like it's not the best and it's not the worst. And if you find it, you can definitely use it until you find something better. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.